Tech by Tips.
Hello and welcome to another Tech by Tips video. We're going to continue our series Introductions to Azure DevOps, and in this video we're going to make parentheses to talk specifically about the bugs, because we've covered the stories before and we mentioned that the bugs are like a story. They're like a special story, right? So I want to make sure that we cover why this is special, what is the benefits of using bugs, and how to properly use them. So let's go into the next slide, and in here we're going to cover a very few things, but I think it's important. So the first thing we need to know is that the bugs are really not mandatory, and you can actually disable them and work them as stories if that's how you want. But there are benefits to having the bugs being its separate thing. The important thing is that the bugs should only be used to address issues with work that has already been completed before. So, for example, if you're working on a story right now to create some new feature, and while working on the story you encounter that you have a bug in your code, for example, you would not create a bug for that because you're actively working on that feature. So instead you would address that problem immediately with that story that you're working. It's something new that you're building, so you're not gonna release something buggy, you just fix it while you were working on it. So the bugs are only for things that were previously done and released. And another thing is that if you prioritize a bug, you do it giving priority to things that add business value. For example, you could have an aesthetic bug, right? Something doesn't look right, or the business change, for example, it colors or something like that, and that would not be considered to be what you want to see, but it doesn't really bring any benefit to the business other than aesthetics. So you prioritize bugs that actually add value, that address problems with the functionality mainly, and then you can work on other bugs that are irrelevant really. And another important thing is when you're creating bugs, it helps you track and identify the quality of the work that is being delivered by the team. So if you see, for example, that your team is delivering a certain amount of stories, and then out of those stories then you have to work on bugs for, I don't know, let's say 30% of the stories that you released, then that tells you something. Either you're trying to do too much and you're not delivering quality code, or you need to address problems with maybe training or the processes that you have in place for your team or other things. So that helps you identify that something is wrong. So ideally you want to deliver good quality code, and you don't want to have to go back and revisit it because you did something wrong. So that's the main benefit of the bugs. And let's quickly just go into our Azure DevOps platform. And as we mentioned, the bugs is something that can be disabled if you don't want to use them. So if you go into the backlogs and you go here into the settings, then you have an option here that says working with bugs. And in this case, if you're not going to use bugs and you're going to treat them like another story, you can just make it like that. And I want to show you the effect that this has on the backlogs, because this is mainly something that happens in the backlog. So let's select to disable that and save. Then when we're in the backlog, when we try to create a new work item, you can see that we can only create a user story. So there's no option to add a bug, right? If we go back here and we change it into bugs are managed with tasks, that allows you to use bugs. But again, when we come into the backlog and you try to add a new work item, you can only add a story. So in this case, it would be a story related to the bug, and then once you're inside the story, then you can create a bug. You see here? But now if you want to create a bug per se to be like a story, then you just come here and you change this to bugs are managed with requirements. So that means that the bug has specific requirements, so it behaves like a story. So when you are going to create a new work item, you have an option here to create a bug, and then it'll be like a story, meaning that you're gonna have a card that is like a story where you put requirements, acceptance criteria, all of that normally, and then within that bug you can create subtasks that you can use to track the progress of that bug. So that's the three options that you have here for bugs. It's up to you how you want to manage them. Let's just leave them as requirements. That's basically it. We have already seen how we create a work item, so let's just go over this quickly. Create one, add it to the bottom, and then remember, in this case it was automatically added to sprint 1, but you can always change that. You can always come back into the iteration here and remove it if you need to. If you have areas defined, we didn't cover this well yet because that's normally done by an administrator, but within a project you can have different areas of work. For example, let's say in our example of a bookstore, you can have an area that is related to a team that works with the API, and then you have another team that works on the shopping cart, for example, and then you can create those different areas within the project. So the Agile project shopping cart, or the Agile project API, and stuff like that. And then that's what that is for. And let's just get that out of the way. So in here, when we have just the project specified, then it will not be part of a sprint, but then you can grab it and dump it into any of the sprints that we have on the right side. And if it's for a new sprint that is not there, we can always create a new sprint here and then add that bug or that story there. So those are the main things that I wanted to cover in this video. How do you manage the bugs, how you allow it to be used as a story or as a task inside a story, or actually disable them if you just want to use everything as a story, like including the bugs. And we've covered basically all of the other things, so that's going to be short and sweet for this video. Hope you like it. Remember, feel free to suggest things that you would like covered in the channel in the comments below. Like and subscribe. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, so thank you very much to every single one of you, and thank you for the people that have donated to the channel. I posted some comments on yesterday, I think it was, on some requests that I received from people, especially a donor to the channel. It was regarding the application image and the application Bitwarden, where I basically mentioned to them that in my opinion it's not worth it to try to host those applications yourself, because they require too many resources for the benefit that they honestly give you. And there's other applications in Synology, for example, that do very similar things. So I was not going to go through the process of creating a video for that, because I think it's just overkill, honestly. So apologies, because I don't make those videos. Maybe later in the future, if there's a use case for that I would think would be beneficial for people to have in the channel membership, then maybe we'll cover it. But for now, I'm not going to cover those. So feel free to suggest other topics and we'll address those. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope that you are having a great weekend, and see you on the next one.